drinking out of juice. I don't need a spray. Fuck 'em by the two, they both tryna ride. Then I ditch 'em both, I ain't even right. Hot top Chanel, bitch, we drippin' right. Young white cell, bitch, we living life. Sleep. Sleep. Sleep.
Afternoon, everybody. I'm Strag, and this is my round 1 review and round 2 preview for the 2021 AFL season. I'm really keen to get some AFL content out there, bit of Supercoach, but mostly AFL, just to entertain you fellas and keep up to date with all the AFL and to keep you guys up to date. So yeah, I'm just going to be going through all the results and all the key plays and takeaways from last round, and then focus on the second round. Nothing too fancy. No crazy energy, just a bit of me on a bit of a spiel, talking a bit. So we're just going to take our mind back to round 1, and the first game, Richmond v Carlton. Dusty wiped the floor with them, and my big takeaway is that can he make another run at the Brownlow? You know, he was insane. He probably would have walked away with 3 votes that night. Jack Graham also having an amazing performance, along with Sam Walsh. Sam Walsh will probably win the Brownlow the year after if Dusty wins it this year. So, yeah, that'll be interesting to see. Treloar versus his first game against the Pies. The Dogs got up, and their midfield is amazing. Treloar, Dunkley, McRae, Baz, Bont. You know, there's so many guys in there. Lockie Hunter. It's crazy how many great guys they have in there. And was there ever any reason to doubt, you know, Baz or Dunkley? You know, we had that off-season turmoil with Bevo and Dunks and the Dons, but, you know, he looks as great as ever, Josh Dunkley. Melbourne and Freo, Melbourne getting up in that match. The intercepting defenders of May and Lever for Melbourne, they look absolutely amazing. I think May had 21 kicks and 3 handballs. I think Melbourne had over 20 intercept marks on the weekend. They probably had 20 between May and Lever alone. They were just absolutely slaughtering the Fremantles inside 50. So that was a great game for Melbourne looking into the future. Adelaide and the Crows. Adelaide and the Cats. It may as well have been Adelaide and the Crows because they were just dominating. The Cats just looked nowhere to be seen. They were slow. Obviously the Dangerfield bump, but we'll get back to that. And yeah, the Cats just didn't really look like they were in it until the end, and it was just wasn't enough. Hawks and Dons. The Hawks getting up by a point. But not a terrible game for the Dons. They should have won. In that sense, it was pretty bad, but it's good for the future. Their midfield, a lot of their young players, Ridley, McGrath, they looked amazing. And like I said, Tom Mitchell, he looks as fit as ever. He looks like he could rip the season apart with the new rules. Sydney and Brisbane. What a shocker that one was as well. Sydney getting up by, I think it was about 41 points or something. Ludicrous. And the dominance from the rookies. Errol Goulden, he is amazing. 3 goals. I can't remember how many posies he's had, but he had a fair few. And then Logan McDonald with another 3 goals. Like, what are you going to do? Braden Campbell, he was kicking the footy beautifully on the park. And Lockie Neal has gone missing. We are looking for him. We haven't found him yet, but he's been missing ever since he walked up and gave the Brownlow to himself last year. So we're still looking for him. Hopefully he pops up this round. Port have absolutely stomped North Melbourne. It was an absolute stomp, but Port looked like a premiership team. I reckon they'll make it to the grand final this year. I think they're the number 1 contender, probably along with Richmond. Brisbane just didn't look in it at all against Sydney, and you know Sydney isn't exactly the top squad, so I think it's Port and Tigers at the moment that look the best. The Saints just got over the GWS Giants in a bit of a brawl in the wet weather over the weekend. Matthew Flynn with 140 Supercoach points, he was insane. But yeah, not much to be said. Bit of a brawl and good results for the Sainters. And finally, West Coast and Gold Coast. Matty Rowell doing a PCL. Devastating news. You know, if you watch AFL, you'll want to see that kid succeed, and it was pretty rough seeing him go down like that. But, you know, it happens in footy sometimes, and hopefully, you know, he can train and get into rehab and get back onto it before the season's end. Now, I'm just gonna get up the Dangerfield bump. I should have had this up before I started this. I'll just crop that. I've got it up here. So he's running in. I'll have it up on the screen. He gets the handball away, and Jake Kelly is coming back with it. Bang, gone. And Kelly is out. You've seen this vision before. He is out of it. We'll just wait for it to get back. Looking a bit Texy at the moment. Yeah, he does not look good. As I'm sure you've all seen. But my take on it, and we'll see it again in slow motion in a second. It was extremely rough. It was extremely unfortunate for Danger as well, and for Jake. Danger obviously wasn't trying to knock him out into the next stratosphere, but it happens. He elected the bump, and he's got to face the consequences. I thought he was going to get 2 weeks. He got 3. I think 2 weeks would have been fair, but 3 weeks is fair enough. It's within the rules. It's within. They've decided. Here we go. A little bit of slow-mo. He's going to get the handball off here. Probably should have skipped a bit.
It's a brilliant chase.
He's going to get the handball off. He's going to see Kelly come through, and he's just going to go bang. Yeah. And just the way that Kelly's body slumps to the ground. Oof, the head clash. That is just disgusting. You hate to see that. But look, like I said, it's going to be very tumultuous. No brown left for Paddy in probably the last season that he had a real good shot at it, you would think. And no danger for the Cats for the next 3 weeks, so it's going to be interesting to see how they go this weekend. On to our next update. Supercoach Jords, the man who miraculously died last year, source Zinger Stacker. We'll quickly cut to the video where we had the news of Jords dying.
Zinger Alert Nation, I'm your host, KFC Star. Let's get right into the news. First up, we have big news coming out of Adelaide. Supercoach Jords is dead! That's right, heavy hitter in the Supercoach community, SC Jords, has been found dead with a gunshot wound to the back of his head. The authorities have ruled out foul play and have labelled it as a suicide, but our sources close to Jordan tell us something more sinister may have been at play. They tell us that this was the final Discord message Jordan sent. I may have found a way to get more trades in Supercoach. I don't know much yet, but it involves ZipPay and Champion Data's scoring system. If I'm found dead, it was not a suicide, and I have most likely been murdered.
Yeah, so that was Zinger Stacker, Richard Head, just giving us a bit of an idea of how Jords died last year. He's been revived, but he had a devastating round 1. He's the biggest super coacher on the YouTube platform, and he had an absolute mare. I think he's bringing us all down. I'm a member of the Supercoach Jords Discord, and he is really disappointing us all. On that note, we're just going to move right on to round 2. Bit of a preview. Carlton Collingwood tonight. Can Brody Grundy ton up for Supercoach and just get up for the Pies? I think that's a huge question. Rucks look like they're regressing in this game. There's been in that round 1, there was the least stoppages on average than there ever has been since 2014. So, can Brody Grundy, as one of Collingwood's elite players, can he make the impact that he needs to swing the game in favour of Collingwood? We don't know. Cats and Brizzy, Friday night game at GMHBA. It's gonna be a tough one for the Catters, especially coming off that devastating loss to the Crows. But for Brisbane, it's also a redemption game. They're coming back against after losing to Sydney, and it is a huge blockbuster. It is almost season defining, I think. Even in round 2, if a team like the Cats or the team like Brisbane are going to go 0-2 in the first 2 rounds, it doesn't really give you a lot of faith for the future. The Swannies and Adelaide Crows start off Saturday at the SCG, and funnily enough, they were the two that beat the Cats in Brisbane, so that'll be interesting to see which one of those teams, which we thought would start the season 0-2, one of them's going to end up being 2-0, which is actually absolutely ridiculous. The Port and the Dons are up next at Adelaide Oval, and you would think Port Adelaide has a pretty convincing win there. I'm tipping the Port, and yeah, I can't really see them losing. The Dons, they're improving, but they're just not at that level yet. The Saints are versing Melbourne at Marvel Stadium. Once again, this one's a bit of an interesting one, actually. I like Melbourne's defense. Like I said, May and Lever are doing excellent, but can Melbourne really, can Petrarca, can Clayton Oliver, can they really fire? Can Max Gawn get into a bit of a rhythm against Paul Hunter, who really struggled against Matthew Flynn in the game last week? The Suns of North Melbourne and Metricon. You would hope the Suns would get up for this one. North Melbourne has some returning players. I think Cunners could be named for North Melbourne, as well as Jed Anderson. So that'll be interesting to see how North Melbourne are able to compete with the Suns mid, who are lacking without Matthew Rowell. Hawks and Tigers starting off Sunday at the G. The Tigers will get up, you'd think. Tom Mitchell, Jaeger O'Meara and Warp will give them a run in the mids, but it'll be tough to see the Tigers getting toppled by the Hawks. Bulldogs and Eagles, I think, is also arguably one of the best matches of the round down at Marvel. The Eagles, they don't have Shuey, they don't have Yo. They've got guys like Xavier O'Neill taking centre bounces. So can they really compete against that Bulldogs midfield? But then can the Bulldogs really present themselves up forward? I think they only kicked 9 goals on the weekend. They only got the 60 points or so, maybe 70. So can the Bulldogs really present against the Eagles when the Eagles have guys like Jack Darling, Josh Kennedy, Oscar Allen, who's proving to be magnificent for the Eagles? And then Freo and GWS at Optus for the last match of the round. GWS, you think, is a good chance to win, but Freo, they did look pretty dismal against Melbourne, but maybe they'll revise their game plan. They've got some good young guys, Chera, Brayshaw, Hayden Young in the back line, Luke Ryan looks alright, and then Tabs up forward. So it'll be interesting. Yeah, I hope that we can get a good game out of that one. But it just depends on Freo's inside 50 entries and if they've really cleaned that up since last round. But that's it for me. That's it for my little news report, and hopefully I can get another one done a bit earlier next week. See you guys later.